listening to the Twin Theory Podcast,
Season 4, Episode 4. Welcome back to the Twin Theory Podcast. This is the Twin Theory Podcast hosted by Courtney and Marissa Thornton. And it has been a while. It has been a while since we last touched bases with you all. Lots has happened since the last time. And we'll be talking about that a little bit on today's show. But just wanted to start off and say Happy New Year to you, wherever you're located at. Hope you had a fantastic holiday season and you're feeling refreshed and recovered and ready for this new year. So before we go into what's been, what pretty much has transpired since the last time we really had an episode and now, did you want to say anything to everyone, Riss?
Yeah, just welcome back. It's been since fall? I feel like maybe October was the last one. I don't even know what episode number that was. But here we are picking up again a few months later. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was October. I think we took that December hiatus. We took that holiday break. So between that time, so what has happened? In November, I moved, and I'm not far away. It's not like, oh my God, I didn't make like a move where I'm like across country, West Coast or nothing like that. I'm really only about 25-30 minutes away, but I moved. Not us. It was just me that moved. And so I got my own little place now, and I'm loving it. I'm actually, loving it, having my own little space, being a little closer to work. But it is a little different because me and Marissa are separate now. We are not, living together like we have for, is it 7 years? 7 years or so? Almost 8 years. A few breaks in here because of work travel and stuff, but about 8 years. So we have separated. So we wanted to talk about it a little bit on this episode, kind of jumping into 2023 and, just jumping back into the rhythm, really, I guess, of churning out some episodes and stuff. But we wanted to get back into it, and that's what we wanted to talk about. It's a new year, and everything is starting off, fresh again, restarting, but we're separated. We live in two different locations. So I'm going to have Marissa actually do a little bit of the driving for this episode. She has some questions that she wanted to really talk about. So I'll let you go, Riss.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So, yes, with Courtney separating and moving on and getting kicked out. No, I'm just kidding. But moving on over this kind of hiatus break that we've had, it kind of got me thinking a little bit about the times that we have separated in our life. And I know that's a big thing for people. Twins separating, and it can be bittersweet. So I want to kind of talk about some of those times during today's episode. So to kind of kick it off, Court, think about it, or try to think of what was the first time that you remember we were separated, and then kind of like how you felt. And I know this might really take some time to think because we had our moments when we were younger. One person went to a summer camp or went somewhere, did something, and the other didn't.
Yeah, I think the first time we actually separated for a little bit, it was a shorter period of time when you went to, I think it was a summer camp. You went to Emory. I think there was like a future medical student, something or another at Emory University in Atlanta. And at the time we lived in Alabama. And so you were about 3 hours away. And I think the program was only a week or 2 weeks, or it wasn't like a super long program. It wasn't like the entire extent of the summer, but it was at least, I think, about 2 weeks because you stayed there for a little bit. But I think that's it. I'm not really sure because I also went away for a summer camp, for a basketball camp, but I think that's the first time we actually separated. And you asked how did I feel? I think for me it was, I knew it was coming. I knew you were going. I was excited for you, and you were excited about it, and so I was just more excited to hear how the program was for you. Wasn't like I had a uber passion in medical or wanted to go into the medical field, so I wasn't upset about the fact that I didn't go. It wasn't like a fun summer camp. Well, maybe it was fun for you, but it wouldn't have been fun for me because I wasn't into anything medical. So I was just happy for you at that time. And I knew that it had an expiration. You weren't going to be there forever. So, yeah, I think though, by the time the camp was over and you got back, I was happy that it didn't extend any more weeks because, you know, I was missing you. It was like, okay, well, it does feel kind of weird that she's gone. But you know, at that point in time, we had our separate rooms because we did share a room for the first 14 years of my life, Lord Jesus. And so at that point in time, at least I had my own room. But yeah, I think that one didn't really affect me as much because I knew you were coming back and it wasn't something that I'm like, oh, I want to be there with you. I was like, nah, I'll stay here.
Yeah, so I remember that experience, and I'll probably talk a little bit about that one. But actually, what points out to me, and it wasn't a long time, it was just one night, but when we were younger in elementary school, I went to somebody's sleepover. I won't say her name here, but I went to her sleepover. I can't remember why you went. I don't want to say you did something and got in trouble. Maybe you did. You weren't there that night. And it was just a sleepover, just one night. It was the first time, really the only time that we stayed over somebody's house when we were younger, or I did rather, because for the most part, we never stayed over friend's house. So, I remember though, I still had a good time with her and the friends there, but it felt weird with you not there. Like, to me, it was noticeable that you were not there. What made it go by, I guess, pretty okay was the fact that I knew everybody else there and her mom and that sort of thing. So it was fun. They had food, they had movies, that sort of thing. So it kind of kept me occupied and not time to sit and think, but I did kept having the feeling that something was missing. So I knew that I could feel that you weren't there.
Yeah, I didn't get to go to that sleepover because I turned in a library book late, and mom was upset because I think she had to pay some money or something for the fee, and she's like, you're not going to the sleepover. One of our friends in middle school. I was always in trouble. So but yeah, okay, well that's interesting. Yeah, the first time I was thinking about was more so in high school, but it was probably a few times I guess before then where I wasn't there, and it was like, oh, okay. I was just sad probably because I wasn't there. It wasn't the separation. It was more like, oh, I didn't get to go. Yeah. Like, wow. So but anyway, yeah, that's interesting.
All right, cool. So in this same conversation of separation, are there any like noteworthy times where it just like when they say to, have you ever been apart from your sister, you immediately think to this time? Is there anything like that? Because we've had our moments, but are there any like immediately it's like the first thing you think of?
Absolutely. It was the summer going from our sophomore year into our junior year of high school. I think at the time we were going from 15 to 16. I don't know if I just made it. Maybe it was 16 to 17. No. It might have been at 15 to 16. I don't know. It was the summer of us going from sophomore year to junior year, and Marissa went to be with my grandparents for the summer, and my grandparents lived in Hampton, and at that time we were in Alabama. We lived in Alabama for 4 years, and so we were in Alabama, and I didn't get to go. And I don't know that it was a punishment. I think it was more so just like, oh, we're going to send Marissa there. She can, run on the track team, the AAU track team out there, and, stay with her grandparents. And, I love my grandparents too, So it was like, not only was I not going to see them for the summer, but I also wasn't going to be with Marissa at all. And I knew that, I think, to a sense. I don't think it was a last minute decision for me not to go, but I'm not really sure if it was a last minute decision for me not to go, if it was a last minute decision for you to go and stay the whole summer. I can't remember, but somewhere in my head, it didn't really set in until we were in the airport and you were leaving, and it was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going back home and I'm about to be home by myself like all summer. Like, what am I going to do? I have no idea what I'm going to do. So, yeah, that one definitely was a noteworthy time. That's the first time I really think of, because for me, I think that was the first time it hit me in a way that was traumatic. And I know for my parents, they were just looking at me in the airport like, what the world is wrong with her? Because they weren't sad at all. They were just like, all right, goodbye. And I was like, devastated. Like, I don't know what I'm about to do for the summer. And I mean, I made it through the summer, but it was like every time I could get on the phone to call and talk to you and my grandparents, it was like I was definitely trying to do that.
Oh, I remember that. Again, I was a bit occupied that summer, so I was sad, but I was happy to be with them. But I did miss you. Like every time I talked to you on the phone, I was like, oh, I wish Courtney could be here. We were starting to, so we had the learner's permit then, and so our grandparents, especially my grandmother, she didn't want to have to drive. So I was definitely getting all the driving experience in with her. And so I wanted to share those experiences with Courtney, but I kind of wanted Courtney to be there to help drive too, because I was just, early out on the street and terrified. And so it would have been nice just to have that. My grandmother was chill, but still, anyway, I remember there's a few things there going on that kind of occupied my mind and time. So I definitely remember that. I think noteworthy for me, though, was actually what you mentioned when I went to the medical camp that they had. So I got into this medical camp. At that time, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and went there for 2 weeks. And it was the first long-term, if you will, time I had been away from home. And I remember being there, and yes, it was notable for sure that Courtney wasn't there, but it was other feelings of what am I going to do? There were classes we attended and things that we did, but really in the downtime, I was by myself, and it was kind of surprising to me to be in that position. Like every time, just throughout our entire life, we always had each other there. So there was never really a time where it was just like me by myself. I think a few episodes ago, we kind of talked about, leaning into each other and doing things together. And I don't know that it's healthy, but I always look for Courtney to kind of be the one to socialize and kind of open up our circle. So with her not being there, then it was kind of like, well, I got to figure this out. And me being the more introverted one, that was difficult. So definitely during that program, it was kind of like, I would say the first eye opener for me as to how much I kind of did lean on Courtney and kind of, depend on her to build the friend circle and to socialize with people. So to me, that was definitely the most noteworthy one.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't even realize that. I don't even think I realized that at that time. Like, because when you came back, I think everyone was just excited, like, oh, how was the program and what'd you get to do and all of that. And so, it wasn't like you said, like, oh my gosh, I really missed you when I was gone. It was more like, oh, well, this is a program, and they had like a whole bunch of stuff lined up. So, definitely, I know that you were busy the whole time. So it never even really dawned on me that, like, well, maybe you were missing me in some sort. And I say that I am more ambiverted. I don't think that I'm a super extroverted person, but between the both of us, I probably have more extroverted qualities, and I can be extroverted. I can flex kind of back and forth. So I can see that.
Yeah, so that was probably my more noteworthy moment. Yeah, I just found myself kind of by myself, even in classes, like sitting by myself, being a bit of a loner. And generally that was time where together we would always kind of have each other. So anyway, I hope this doesn't seem like a downer episode for y'all. Like, we really are about to pick it up, because this next part I'm going into is, now that we are in our early 30s and we have like separated, you're here, I'm where I'm at, how does that feel? Do you still have some of those moments as before, or have you kind of grown through it? So now that we're separated, just how do you feel now that we're kind of adult and we've grown some?
Yeah, I think definitely, at a young age, it was definitely a get your footing type of feel. And I think college really helped us. Going to two separate colleges, very far away from each other, where I couldn't see you for an entire year. Maybe I only saw you once a year, or maybe twice in a year. It really helped me with kind of growing into my own and myself and being okay by myself. And, of course, there's moments where I'm like, oh, I really miss my sister. Like, I really want to go see Riz, so I really want to talk to her or whatever, but it's not nearly like what it used to be, where it was like, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know how to make friends. Like my freshman year, at Hampton, I didn't even know. Like that, oh my God, that first week of like freshman week, like that first, oh my goodness, it was like devastating. like I needed a therapist. Like, like I needed somebody I really needed someone to talk to because I just didn't know what I was doing. It felt too fresh. So now I've definitely just grown into my own and just grown to loving, having that space to myself and time to myself. And I still, love spending time with you, but I love having my own space too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a long time coming. And really, even though we lived together, we took a break when we first graduated from college. So we kind of extended that break and then we got back together again. And we were together for quite a few years, but even we do quite a bit of travel, and even, my job had me away for a few months, and even really over the last year, me being away for a year, it just kind of really helped, with that, being able to be by yourself and be separated and know that we still have that closeness and that twin closeness to us, but we are also, separate individual people. And so it's okay and it's healthy for us to be able to have our own, lives and want to have our, space to ourselves.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mentioned Bittersweet before, and I was thinking maybe this episode is called Bittersweet, but it is because you have the bitter side where we're separated and we're not there with each other. So sometimes we miss each other, but we do have the sweet portion where we get to enjoy our own individual spaces. So I knew, like, when there was a question of, is Courtney gonna stay? Is she gonna move? I knew you were looking to branch out. Like, there was no question there. So when you did decide, that you were wanting to branch out and move on, that I was like, totally understood. I can stretch out, you can stretch out. And the good thing is that we've had that time to grow and learn ourselves as individuals to where now the separation is not devastating. So I would definitely encourage those listening, if you have if you have a twin, or if you have kids that are close together in age, or that are multiples or twins, to definitely separate them intentionally, so that they can really grow that personal identity in themselves, and so it's not as traumatic and as devastating when they do separate, because there tends to be some devastation in general just the first time you separate, whether you're a twin or not. But there's an added layer when you are, I would say, a multiple and you're used to being with somebody all the time. It's just like another layer of devastation there. So I would definitely encourage that. If you've got, some siblings close in age and they're always together, or you've got multiples, twins, quadruplets, what have you, to make sure that you intentionally separate them so that they can have that time apart and that they can really start to build their separate identity.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And I think that one thing really works for us is that our personalities are so different. Like there's a lot of things that we can, sit down and agree on and talk about and stuff, but our personalities are just day and night. Now, most people that really know us will go like, okay, you couldn't figure out who was who? Like I knew right off the jump, so because our personalities are just so very different. And because of that, I think that's why we really need that space, to ourselves. So it's like, okay, hey, if I want to have friends or do whatever, or if you want to do whatever, like I know Marissa's more quiet and tranquil and calm, and not that I'm not quiet and tranquil and calm, but Marissa is like very zen all day long, 24/7, and like I am zen for the most part, like Monday through Thursday. And then come Friday and Saturday, it's like, okay, let's go. And then we're zen again Monday through Thursday. And so Sunday is a wild card game. Our personalities are so varying that I think that separation is definitely needed, so that I don't start to step on your toes and you're like, oh my God. And that, you don't start to step on mine and I'm like, oh my God, when are we going to leave the house? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, when are we going to go out? COVID was a thing, boy. Inside with each other all day long. Like, oh, get me the heck up out of here. I still love you, but we need our own space. Anyway, well, definitely we are excited to be back. We're recording from my new place, so we'll still be recording together. So that gives us an excuse to get together. And like we brought in the new year together. Marissa came over, had a few other friends that came over, and we had a great time. So we still see each other very much so often, and still plan to. But definitely, I think that the space is really good, and being able to be separate, but still able to get together. If you have any questions, comments, any stories you want to share, anything, always feel free to reach out to us. Our email is twintheorypodcasters@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media at Twin Theory Podcast, and we are on YouTube. You can leave comments on YouTube. So we definitely appreciate you all for staying in there. We're so sorry for the little bit of gap that we had there, those 2 months there that we just kind of like took a break, and it was a lot going on. But definitely in 2023, we're looking at getting back and hitting it hard here. Got a few things definitely that we think are be good to talk about and kind of juicy from our perspectives. So anyway, we will let you go. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful January. I don't know where you're at located in the world, but I know here on the East Coast and in DC, it has been warm so far this winter. So if you're lucky, then, definitely enjoy the warm weather. For those that it's not so warm out there, definitely keep bundled up, and we will talk to you all next month. Take care.